Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to a new video. In today's video, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be showing you a more in-depth kind of full coverage foundation routine. So I did a poll on the communities tab and it was between seeing this foundation routine first or my hair care routine first, and this one was the winner. So here I am making this video for you guys. I'm still going to be filming my hair care routine probably sometime this week, so expect that video soon or to be next. But feel free to leave me any video requests. I always like to know what you guys want to see from me. I always like to take it into consideration and, you know, use it as kind of like motivation to continue to film YouTube videos. So if you guys are interested in seeing my full coverage foundation routine, then go ahead and just keep watching. Okay, so I'm starting off with a fresh face. I'm gonna be going in with moisturizer. Like always, I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream Light. Sometimes I'll use the regular one too, but I have the regular one, but I'm just trying to finish this one first. And honestly, I like both. This is the moisturizer that I use mainly when I'm gonna be putting on some makeup, just because it's really rich and hydrating. For a regular basis, I just use like a regular lightweight moisturizer, but I really like to use something dewy and rich when I'm applying makeup, especially if it's gonna be more of a glam. I wanna make sure my base is nice and hydrated. Since I'm going for like a more full coverage finish, I like to go in with a primer that's gonna stick and hold my foundation. So for that, I really like the Milk Hydro Grip primer. This is a really great primer to just make sure that your makeup really stays put and in place throughout the day. And what's great about it is that it's still very hydrating, but you can just feel when you're applying it. It has like a tacky sort of sticky feel, but it's still pretty hydrating. I would really recommend checking this primer out. I got the little size to try it out and I love it. I probably will be picking up the bigger size once I finish with this one. But this is the one I use mainly for when I want like a full coverage type of look. And then I'm just gonna be taking more primer. So I'm taking the AIRBRUSH Flawless Setting Spray. This is great for priming and for setting. I just like to do a little spritz of this before applying my foundation. And then you really just wanna give that about a minute or so to really just settle in and sink into your skin, and then we'll go ahead and apply our foundation. I'm just gonna take a little bit of a color corrector, and I'm gonna use this mainly underneath my eyes just to cancel out any blues or purples. I do get some discoloration under here, so I just like to do a little bit of corrector. And as always, I love using the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Vanish Corrector. I use the shade Medium. It's like a nice peachy undertone, and this is like by far one of my favorite correctors I've ever tried. It's just so creamy and blends out like a dream. So for foundation, I have a couple of different ones that I like to use for full coverage. It's between these three, and I love them all the same, honestly. I go back and forth between the NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation, the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless, and the Too Faced Peach Perfect. I'm gonna be using the Charlotte Tilbury one today just because this is the only one that matches me right now. The other ones are a little bit too dark for me at the moment. So for the NARS one, I have the shade Valencia. It's a little bit more of like my summer shade. Right now I'm a little bit paler because it's winter. And then the Too Faced one in Warm Sand, this one is way too deep for me. And yeah, so I'm just gonna go with the Charlotte Tilbury one. But honestly, they all perform about the same. They have like a nice soft matte finish without being too matte, like over drying. They all look very natural but full coverage, which is what I like to go for when I'm going for a full coverage foundation. So I'm just gonna be taking about like 2 pumps of this, and then I usually just like to dot it on, and then always bring it down to the neck just so it looks nice and blended. And then typically, I usually like to use a beauty blender, but if I want like that fuller coverage, I like to go on with a brush. My favorite foundation brush is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Complexion. A more affordable version would be Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. I really love this one too. And then I just like to really work it in the skin. I do more of like a swiping motion, and the key to this is really just taking your time with it. Blending out with the brush, you really just wanna take your time like working it into your skin. And you can just see like it's very full coverage, but I just love how my glow still peeks through. It looks like skin, very natural, dewy, but the coverage is there. I always like to go back in with my sponge and kind of just go over it really lightly to make sure it just looks extra flawless and skin-like. Really don't neglect the neck area, and then I'll take it a little bit down my chest too, just depending on like what I'm gonna be wearing. I wanna make sure everything is nice and blended. And this forehead area too, like with the hairline, you wanna make sure that's nice and blended so it doesn't look weird on the ears. Okay, and then for concealer, so I'm gonna be using two different ones. I really like the Too Faced Born This Way. This one's probably my favorite that I've ever tried so far. I have the shade Warm Beige. This one is more of like a true match to my skin color, really similar to the foundation shade. I use the shade 7 Neutral in this one. And then I have this e.l.f. concealer in Medium Sand, which I'm gonna use more for highlight. I'm gonna take the Too Faced one, and I'm just gonna get in these little areas where I feel like I need a little bit of extra coverage. Any like imperfections or acne or little scars that I have like near my chin area, I like to go in, and I have like a pimple right there. So just like that, and then I like to kind of let that sit for a second. While I let that sit, I kind of like to carve out my contours. I like to use the LA Girl Pro Conceal in the shade Beautiful Bronze. So now I'll start blending out my concealer. And I usually like using a beauty blender just because it gives it like a softer effect. And then I'll take a brush, so I'm taking the Real Techniques, and I'm kind of just pressing that into my skin more in like an upwards type of motion. And then really pushing that into my hairline. And then usually if I feel like I need some more, like in this area, just add a little more. And really just work that into it. All right, and now for my nose, that is a different story. I like to take the end of this Hollywood complexion brush, just lightly press it and blend it. Don't want to worry too much about and everyone's nose is different, so don't quote me on my nose contour. I'm not the best with nose contouring, I'll admit it, but I just like to add, you know, a little something, especially when I'm going for a more full coverage look. Leave her there, and then now going into highlight, I'm taking the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Medium Sand. blend it out with the Beauty Blender. And you can like immediately see how much it just really brightened. I like doing it after my contour because I can just, you know, lightly dab the concealer and it gives it more of like that natural blended out effect instead of just like a harsh contour. So I started doing that. I used to do my concealer before my contour, but now I do it after. Okay, and then just to set in the concealer, I really love using the Milk Makeup Translucent Matte Loose Setting Powder. I go back and forth between using a sponge and a brush, but lately I've been using a brush, and I just like how more precise I'm able to get into my eye. Using the Morphe M448. Okay, and then for bronzer, I'm taking the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. I'm taking the shade 2 Medium this time just because I feel like the 3 Tan is a little bit too dark for me right now. So I'm going in with the medium and just going over those areas where I contoured. And this just gives it like that extra nice warmth that we're going for. And then for the nose, I've really been liking this Morphe brush. This is the E62. It's like a nice slanted, fluffy brush for the nose. A little bit. And just bronzing up the nose, giving it a little bit of color so everything looks nice and even. Take it up to like the brow area. Okay, so I went ahead and just did my eye makeup off camera. Now I'm just gonna show you how I finish this off. So liquid highlighter, my favorite one is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk highlighter. It's just like a really beautiful champagne-y, pinky like champagne-y type of highlighter. Take a little bit of that right on my cheekbone, and I love the effect that this gives. It just gives it like that very natural like lit from within look. And I like to press that in with this brush right here. And then just to set that, since it's gonna be more of a full coverage look, I wanna make sure everything kind of just like stays in place. So I'm gonna take a little bit of powder. I really love the MAC Soft and Gentle highlight. This has been my favorite for years, and these highlighters last me forever. I swear I can never like finish a highlighter, but I keep purchasing them because they're just so beautiful. And you can just see it just so beautiful. I love the formula on this because even though it's a powder, it still gives you like a very beautiful skin-like finish. And then for blush, I've been loving the NARS Orgasm. I have it in this little palette here, and this is just like a beautiful peachy sort of pink. And I usually like to do that last just because I can sort of diffuse it and blend it in with the bronzer and highlighter. If I want to add a little bit of extra pinkness, I'll just go in with this shade and just kind of top it with that oh so lightly. I'm just gonna go ahead and lock everything in place with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. I love this setting spray. It does a really great job of holding on to your makeup throughout the day, and you can just feel it kind of lock in your makeup once you spray it. It's seriously amazing. All right, but that pretty much sums up this full coverage foundation routine. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it helpful. This is usually the makeup I go for, you know, when I just want a little bit of extra coverage, I'm going to an event or something. Hasn't really happened lately, but you know, then this is a very like similar routine that I would go for when I was going to work, going to an event or whatever. It's really just about skin prep, I feel. Products I use now I really love, but I'm sure you can get a similar effect with anything that you have at home. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.